Matt Hicks, the FF educator, here with Shane Hallam. Shane, of course, of the Draft Countdown, of course, of the Devi Marketplace, and of course, of DLF as well. Shane, we're going to be breaking down the top 5 things you need to know about the 2024 rookie class as we look at it here in June of 2023. And let's start here with number 1. Shane, Caleb Williams. He is the truth. You know, if we're looking back here over the last couple of years, comparing Caleb Williams, who at this point is the, in my opinion, front runner to be QB1 of the 2024 class. You know, as you take a look at Caleb Williams' first 2 collegiate seasons, how does he match up for you overall as a prospect compared to some of these highly hyped dynasty quarterback rookies over the last couple of years? Guys like Joe Burrow, guys like Trevor Lawrence.
Caleb Williams is up there. I mean, my philosophy always, especially with quarterbacks, but any position, you know, if you are playing at a high level of high school and dominating, you're a 5-star recruit who goes into college and dominates, you're going to probably go to the NFL and dominate. Like, that's usually how it works. It's really that simple. And Caleb Williams did that. I mean, from the time he stepped on the field, day one, replacing Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma, you see the athleticism, and you see the movement skills, the way he's able to keep his eyes down the field. I think the ball placement and accuracy, he can really place the ball anywhere. Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback I've ever scouted for the NFL draft. I don't think Caleb Williams is there yet. I think he could be in that conversation with another great year. But I think he's right where, you know, it's tough because Joe Burrow just had like the 1 year and that was it. But he was so good. Burrow's 4th on my list ever. I think Caleb Williams is right there, kind of in the top 5 already of quarterbacks I've scouted since 2004 for about 20 years.
Yeah, we try to steer clear of hyperbole as best as we can because there's plenty of folks out there doing that, right? But I mean, just look at the numbers here. 66% career completion rate, over 711 passing attempts, both at Oklahoma as a true freshman. Then he transferred, followed Lincoln Riley to USC as a true sophomore. 6,449 passing yards, Shane. And then what I love about it, man, a 69-3 touchdown to interception ratio. Balanced out with that is over 800 career rushing yards and 16 rushing touchdowns. And don't forget, when you're talking about collegiate rushing stats, sacks do count negatively. And he definitely got beat up a little bit at USC. Shane, you know, I just want to point out, we focused on Caleb Williams, but there's really good depth to this quarterback class, right? We have the potential, in my opinion, for 3 top 10 quarterbacks. Add in Drake May, Quinn Ewers to that mix. And then some traitsy guys that could sneak into the first round as well. You know, if you're interested in seeing more of a full breakdown of that, of course, you can head on over to Draft Countdown where Shane's at. The rookie big board for 2024 also dropped if you want to head on over to patreon.com/rookie big board. But Shane, talking about number 2 here, Ohio State is still wide receiver U. They've given us some ridiculous talents over the past couple seasons. Of course, talking about Chris Olave, of course, talking about Garrett Wilson, talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba from this year's class. But Shane, maybe the best of them all, at least according to Ohio State offensive coordinator Brian Hartline, Marvin Harrison Jr.
He's got to be one of the better wide receiver prospects that we've seen. I mean, I think he's going to be right there with Jamar Chase. I think one of the best interesting pieces to him is all the top corners in the NFL draft this past season that were drafted 1st round, 2nd round, that played against Ohio State. Like, he crushed them all. Like, he dominated all these guys that were going in the 1st, 2nd round. I'm like, how do you not draft this receiver top 5? He has the bloodlines. He has, the height and the length. I think everything kind of bodes well for Marvin Harrison. You know, he might not be a 4.3 speed player, but he's pretty darn fast. I think he's going to be in one quarterback leagues, the undisputed number 1 rookie pick in 2024.
Yeah, we're talking about 1,263 receiving yards this past season in 2022 for the Buckeyes, 14 touchdowns and 16.4 yards per reception. Really great athleticism. You know, he comes in at 6'3", 202. And I think you can add an extra couple inches there with that vertical ability. It's a really nice catch radius. You mentioned he might not necessarily be a burner, but I think we've seen over the last couple draft cycles, Shane, you don't have to run that 4.3, right? You don't have to run that low 4.4 in order to be a 1st round draft pick. And as you mentioned, you know, I think Marvin Harrison's NFL draft stock is as high as a top 5 pick. And I think he could be sitting there as a real contender for 101, even in Superflex leagues. and even, hyping up Caleb Williams in the way we just did. Is that an outrageous take?
A little bit. I like in super flex. I can't take the receiver over the top quarterback, especially when you have a Caleb Williams in this class. If we were talking about the 2022 class, then it's a lot easier. Even 23, I think you start to play some games with, okay, receiver, a little more longevity than a Bijan Robinson. Like maybe I can make that play. I'll say this. I think there will be super flex leagues where he goes one-on-one. I think there are people that are going to like him enough, and I think you're going to get 10 years of good production out of him.
Yeah, and I don't want to focus just in on Marvin Harrison Jr. because part of this point that we're making about Ohio State is that Emeka Egbuka is right there as well. So Emeka Egbuka is going to be the best wide receiver 2 in the country, coming in at 6'1", 200, with a really respectable production profile himself. So while sharing the field with Marvin Harrison Jr., 1,151 receiving yards, just 10 touchdowns, 15.6 yards per reception here. So a really good production profile as well. Another really consistent pass catcher for me, good athleticism. The key takeaway here is that if you have the opportunity to watch Ohio State football this fall, you got to make sure you flip on the channel and hone in on these wide receivers.
Yeah, because Egbuka really had to fill the gap when Jackson Smith and Jigba was out. And I thought Egbuka did such a good route runner. He was a 5-star recruit as well. So you still have that pedigree of these top recruited players. But I think what Egbuka does well is the footwork. Off the line of scrimmage, has that explosion, really nice hands extension, catches the ball, secures it. And then after the catch, Egbuka's tough to bring down. He can make some things happen, and arm tackles, he's going to break through those. That's what really impressed me, because he's not a huge 210-pound player, but he kind of plays a lot bigger than he is, can handle those contested catches. So I think right now he's my wide receiver 2 in the class.
The number 3 thing you got to know about this 2024 rookie class is about the running back position. Now, we know the Dynasty running back landscape, it's a little dry right now, right? It's a little tough. There's some real drop-offs, some real tier breaks. I don't think this 2024 class, at least at this point in my mind, is necessarily going to save us, right? There's definitely some good running backs, but when we're looking at the running back position compared to the talent that we've been talking about with quarterback and wide receiver, it seems to be a tier below. Am I reading that correctly and in line with what your thoughts are so far on the class?
I think you're reading it correctly. I think it is more a case of the NFL than this class, being poor, being bad, right? I do think there is talent up there. I think Raheem Sanders from Arkansas is probably the best shot to take, because you have a 225-pound running back who probably runs a 4.47, who has a nice second gear, can catch the football, like has all things we want as fantasy players. That doesn't mean he's a first-round NFL draft pick, so that's what gets things, I think, mixed up. But I agree, it's not a tremendous class where you feel like you have an elite talent. But I think a lot of people were bashing the 2023 running back class when we had Bijan Robinson in it. So I don't know if we're going to look at a running back class in the next decade and say, wow, this is a great running back class. I think it's going to be tough to do. But I think this has enough talent and depth to at least be solid.
Yeah, I like the term depth. If you look at the top 3 contenders, in my opinion, you mentioned Raheem Sanders, definitely one of my top 3 contenders to be an impact running back. I'm a big fan of Braylon Allen as well. And what folks are going to like is 6'2", 238. So we've talked about 2 big guys right off the bat, right? And that's going to help hold some weight when it comes to the NFL and some potential draft capital. But Braylon Allen, back-to-back 1,000-plus yard rushing seasons, true freshman, true sophomore in Wisconsin. And now, we're looking at a new offense here. Quasi-air raid is what we're hearing out of Madison. And so Braylon Allen has the opportunity to kind of show his skill set in maybe a different offensive style, which is going to be exciting to see. And then, you throw Travion Henderson into there out of Ohio State, 5'10", 210, former 5-star guy, exploded onto the scene as a true freshman, struggled last season with injury. He has the opportunity to produce at a high level here and be right in this top 50 NFL draft pick mix with these other 2 guys. There's definitely potential and definitely opportunity, but, I like to proceed with caution where we can, because, us Devy guys will get knocked for overhyping a little bit too much. Will Shipley out of Clemson, Donovan Edwards out of Michigan, Devin Neal out of Kansas, Chase McClellan, Alabama, Trey Benson, Florida State. If you were to just name one of these other running backs that you could see kind of taking that big leap into this top tier conversation, who's a guy that we should be looking for?
Well, like I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna take a name you said, a name you didn't, but I'm gonna take the Michigan backfield. Like I
There
think
you go.
I
There you
think
go.
Donovan Edwards, who you mentioned, dynamic against Ohio State, dynamic in the playoff game against TCU, had some big runs. He's a pass catcher. He's my number 4. I think he has the best chance. But Blake Corum was a Heisman contender, and I think us in the Devi community sometimes forget about him. He had the ACL tear. We'll see if he can come back too. But I think both those Michigan running backs, I think, are going to end up going pretty high.
All right, number 4 thing you need to know about this 2024 rookie class is that Brock Bowers is who you wanted Kyle Pitts to be. That's a little bit of clickbait right there on that, but not
It's
really.
true. It's true. I think it's true.
It's a different profile. I think it's important
Yeah.
to like start there. At 6'4", 230, he's not that wide receiver tight end, but in a lot of ways, I think Brock Bowers is a better prospect, right, than Kyle Pitts. Am I out of bounds?
No, look, I've tweeted that statement, and I'll retweet it like 3 times this college season as well. Bowers doesn't have the Kyle Pitts, size and fluidity that you're like, oh wow, this guy's an absolute monster. But I think that's what makes Brock Bowers work for the NFL is he can do so many different things. When we're in the era of talking of Dalton Kincaid's an offensive weapon now, and we're going to move him around, Brock Bowers has taken jet sweeps to the house in college as a tight end. Like, there's a lot of ways to use him as as a runner, as a blocker, as a boundary receiver, as an inline guy. He's done it all. And I think that's what makes Brock Bowers so impressive to me is I think he can fit any offense that's out there. Whereas I think a guy like Kyle Pitts, we're seeing a struggle of a fit into the Arthur Smith offense. I don't think he'll go top 5. I'll probably mock him there for a little while because I think he's deserving. But I think ultimately he's going to settle in the top 15 and still be an excellent tight end prospect.
And, if he goes top 15, Shane, he's a top 5, 6 Superflex rookie pick, even in a non-premium league, right? Like, that demands pretty high value.
Yeah, and I think just the tight end landscape in fantasy, as all of us know, is pretty poor. I think Bowers is right there with Kittle at this point, where you feel you have the youth over the 30-year-old tight end, and maybe you say, oh, I'll take Kittle in a vacuum because of the production, but I mean, I'd certainly take Bowers over Dallas Goedert, Dalton Kincaid, Pat Freiermuth, those guys.
Yeah, so number 5 here, Shane, the final point here that you need to know about the 2024 class is that now is a great time to be buying the 2024 rookie picks, right? That's the real reason that we're getting into this. We're trying to give you an overview of the strength of the class. We've talked about there's a lot of value at the quarterback position. There's good value at the top of the wide receivers. We've got potential depth at the running back position. And Shane, you got a kind of a crown jewel in a top tier tight end prospect.
And I think it's about taking a shot on those future firsts are almost always going to appreciate and value. Or on the W Marketplace podcast, we talk just about value. I mean, that's what we want to get. And those rookie picks just gain value over time. Even if a guy drops off, you got 2 more that pop in that people get excited about. You trade for a first, you never know. It can end up being top 5. And now, hey, the pedals to the metal. But I'm with you. I think trading for the second, even third round rookie picks in the 24 class, people are going to devalue those right now, and those are going to increase in value, maybe be similar to a 109, 110. But now I have, the 203, 204 I traded for. That's worth just as much, and I got it much, much cheaper.
If you are already thinking about the 2024 rookie class and draft class overall, not just for fantasy, Draft Countdown, a fantastic resource for it. And then, of course, at patreon.com/rookiebigboard, we're already looking at the 2024 class. We have Devi rankings and insight to help you in your draft. Shane P. Hallam, the Twitter handle's right here on the YouTube video, at the FF_educator for me. And for Dynasty resources, for Devi resources, it's dynastyleaguefootball.com.